My name is Jessie Wachter. I am one of the Global Programs Advisors at Rustic Pathways. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I am formerly the director of our Tanzania program, so those programs are always near and dear to my heart, but I've been with Rustic for 10 years now. I have run programs in about 10 different countries, and I'm always happy to answer any questions that you'll have about our programs or about the enrollment process, how to choose a program, anything that comes up. Tonight, I will go a little about what we're doing on this webinar. We are joined by a lovely pair of alumni. We have one on video, one hoping to get on video, and then our third panelist this evening was in Tanzania and didn't have a strong enough connection. So we've got two, hopefully tonight, to present to you guys. And I do have a colleague of mine, Emily, behind the scenes. As you think of questions, please feel free to use the questions box at the bottom of your screen. Send them in as we go through, and we'll have time at the end to have a question and answer session. And the majority of our programs, again, please feel free to send those questions in, and then I will kind of funnel into our alumni. I'm going to talk a little bit about Rustic Pathways. I'm kind of going in backwards order here, but a little bit about what we do. And then I will talk about the enrollment fee increase we have coming up on March 6th. And then at the very end, just before our final question and answer section, I will talk about how to enroll, just to kind of show you that process, because that deadline is coming up. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Thumbs up. Okay, awesome. Okay, so at Rustic Pathways, we really do see ourselves as the intersection between education, travel, and philanthropy. And this means that we have programs, about 100 different programs to choose from in 20 different countries. We have programs from middle school, high school, and college. And we try to have programs that fit every different type of student. This is a really pivotal time in lives. You know, they're deciding who they want to be and what they want to do in school, and what they want to do beyond school, and just kind of the person they want to be out in the world. And we find that this experience of traveling abroad, although we do have really powerful programs within the US as well, but traveling outside just your own neighborhood, outside your own bubble, is a great opportunity to not only meet students from around the world, but also meet people within communities that live a totally different lifestyle than you do. Learn grit, learn empathy, learn. So we do have a variety of options for students. If you're looking for a service program or an education program like photography or language immersion, medical certification, we have something for you. I do want to mention really quick, I mentioned the March 6th date that we have coming up. That is the end of our regular season enrollment, which just means that for new students, the enrollment fee right now is $100 to get you all set up in the system, after which the enrollment fee does increase to $200. We do want to encourage you, if you're looking to enroll by that date. And the reason we do that is because towards the end of March, early April, we start to book flights. We also find this is a really good time to start looking at your program if you need to get a new passport or visas or vaccinations or all of that prep that kind of goes into your summer program. This is the time to do it. So if you get in by that date, it gives you plenty of time to prepare for your program and get all your fin and all that jazz. So keep in mind, March 6th, that's when the enrollment fee increases for new students. I do want to introduce our panel this evening. If McKenna, she may not be on video. Hopefully, McKenna, can you hear us? And are you on audio?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. So we have McKenna from Colorado Springs, Colorado. Oh, there she is. Hi, McKenna.
Hi.
And I am actually from Denver, Colorado, so I'm just north of you, McKenna. And then we have Anna as well. So go ahead and have introduce yourself.
Me?
Yep.
I'm Anna Dormitzer. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, and I've been on 3 rustic trips. I'm very lucky, and I'm happy to be here.
3 rustic trips, and you're heading somewhere this
yeah,
summer,
I'm
right?
going to Australia this summer to get my advanced diving certification and study minke whale migration on the Great Barrier Reef.
Amazing, amazing. Who gets to say that?
It's the coolest sentence I've ever said.
Where else have you been?
I've been to Thailand, Fiji, and Costa Rica.
with Rustic Pathways. Awesome. And McKenna, would you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm McKenna. I'm from Colorado Springs. I've been on 2 Rustic Pathways trips, and I have another one coming up this summer.
Awesome. Where did you go?
So I've been to the Turtle Conservation Project in Costa Rica, and then Sacred Valley Service in Peru.
Okay. And where are you going this summer?
I'm going to the DR, the Marine Life and Coastal Restoration.
Awesome. So you seem to like Latin America.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. How's your Spanish?
Not super great, honestly. A lot worse than I wish it was.
That's okay. I mean, that's a really good point. We all of our programs operate in English except for our language immersion programs. And even then you can have a different, various levels of language. So no matter where you travel, we're going to have local and non-local staff that can help you translate, and you don't have to speak the local language. Though it's always really good to pick up a few words here and there to interact with the local community. I would like to start with a question for both of you, Anna and McKenna, but Anna, if you want to go first. I'd like you to share kind of when you first started looking at Rustic Pathways and you were looking to your very first program, how did you choose? That's kind of one of the most common questions. How do you narrow down the 100 different programs?
Yeah, it's really hard. And especially as you go to different programs, it gets harder and harder because there are so many things you want to see. I did my first Rustic trip the summer going into my freshman year of high school. And back then I was really shy. I was really nervous. I had never traveled outside of the country without my parents. So I wasn't really sure if I wanted to do it, but I was kind of ready for an adventure and I wanted to be brave and step out of my comfort zone. So I chose Costa Rica as my first trip because it's far, but it's not that far. And I'd actually been to Costa Rica before. So I knew a little bit about the culture. And it was on the water, and I've always loved the water. It had a mix of, it was called Surf and Service, which is one of Rustic's popular programs. So it had a mix of helping local people build houses and learning how to surf. So it was a balance of that adventure and that meeting new people that I was looking for.
Okay, do I go?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay, sorry. So my first trip was also to Costa Rica, and some of the big factors in my decision were definitely cost. It was one of the closer programs, so the flight wasn't that bad, and it was only a week. So the trip itself wasn't too bad because I had to pay for some of it myself. Yeah, I'd say cost was probably one of the big ones, and then just the location. It was on the water. It was so pretty. Got to help animals, which I really love.
Awesome. Can you explain a little bit about the travel experience, especially as a first-time traveler? How did that all work?
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm from Boston, so I drove down to Newark, New Jersey with my mom, and flew out of Newark. With Rustic, you meet at like a central airport to get with the people who are traveling with you, who are really awesome, and they're really great about making you feel comfortable. So you're never alone flying. When I went to Thailand, I had to fly to JFK by myself, but I had already been on a couple Rustic trips, so I was comfortable with navigating airports and figuring stuff out. But the flight people are really great about helping you if you have any questions. They know their way around, and they're helping like 45 kids, so it's really impressive. And flights aren't the most fun thing, but it's so worth it in the end. So for my Thailand flight, it took like 40 hours to get there in total, but it was totally worth it. And Costa Rica, like McKenna said, it's not that far, which was really nice.
Awesome. How was it for you, McKenna?
It was really awesome. So my first trip, I had to fly as an unaccompanied minor, which I wasn't too happy about. But it was super nice because I had a flight attendant with me the whole flight there, And then as soon as I flew into Houston to go to Costa Rica. And so as soon as I got there was a Rustic Pathways person waiting to greet me, and they brought me to the rest of the group. And all the kids are coming in at different times, so you all just kind of like hang out, get to know one another, like just in the halls of the airport. It was super awesome.
Yeah. So just to kind of add to that, if you are looking into Rustic Pathways, and if you're coming from anywhere within the US, we have hub airports for all of our destinations, and it does depend on where you're flying to. That might be Los Angeles, Houston, Miami, Newark, or New York, so JFK or Newark. And so look into that. I can show you where on the website where to find that information, but essentially you'll just be responsible for getting your flight to that hub airport. And then from there, we'll have airport coordinators that help students get to where they need to be, in addition to the flight chaperones that will take the entire group, once they're all gathered, through security, travel with them to the destination country to make it a smooth process. So we have students from the ages of 12 traveling with us internationally. It can be a daunting process first time. There's a first time for everyone, but we do try to make it as smooth as possible and give you all that information beforehand so you're properly prepared. I do think we're freezing up a little bit, so you guys just give me a signal if you can, or if I freeze up too much. McKenna, what were you most nervous about when you first started traveling with Rustic Pathways?
I was definitely most nervous about like having friends on my trip. I was scared I was gonna get there and I was gonna be friends with no one, and it was gonna be a terrible time. But from the minute I arrived at the airport, everyone's super nice. For the most part, everyone's in the same boat. They travel alone, so they're all looking to make new friends and meet people on their trips. And from my experience, every one of my programs has been super nice.
Awesome. I mean, we get such a variety of kids, so you never know who's going to be on your trip. But for the most part, I feel like, in my experience anyway, and you guys would be the experts as well, students that travel on Rustic Pathways programs are kind of looking for a very similar experience, especially if they're on a particular program. So you often get kids that kind of are looking for what you are and have the same interests. And Anna, you were telling me earlier about how you've actually kept in contact with quite a few of the people and the kids you've met on your programs.
Yeah. So I went to Thailand this past summer, and that was my favorite of the trips I've done with Rustic. I made some of my current best friends, and my two closest friends. One goes to college in Colorado, and one lives out in Cleveland. So over winter break, I flew out to see them in Cleveland because I just miss them so much. And we have like a group chat with everyone from that trip, and we talk every day. We stay up to date on each other's lives. You'll probably talk about this later. You pass over it a little bit. On your trips, you have locals, like some of your trip leaders are natives to the place you're visiting. So one of my trip leaders was named Noon, and she was the most wonderful person ever. And so I still stay in contact with her. So that's one of my favorite parts about Rustic is the people.
Awesome. So not only the kids that you're traveling with, but it sounds like you had a connection with the leaders as well.
Yeah.
Nice. Was there something, Anna, that you remember that you were most nervous about when you first started traveling with Rustic Pathways? Or is there something you still get nervous about?
Yeah, I still get nervous before my programs. I was gonna say the same thing as McKenna, making friends. That's like a totally human fear. Every single person feels that way before they start a program. And like McKenna said, most people don't go in like with a friend. They're there to meet new people. So it's really scary. Like the night before, you'll be thinking, everyone's gonna hate me. I'm not gonna have a good time. And then you get there, and everyone's awkward at first, but you do these bonding activities, and you live with these people for like a week at the minimum. So you get to know them, you see them at their worst, you see them at their best, and you see them grow, which is a really special thing to learn. So it's really scary going into it, and it's never not going to be scary, but you have to embrace it.
Yeah, awesome. I'm glad you both brought that up, because it is one of our most common concerns as someone who talks to a lot of families and students is am I going to be the only one traveling on their own? And everybody thinks they're going to be the only one, and everybody else is going to have best friends and know every trip. And actually, it's the vast majority of students do travel on their own. It's okay, I think, if students are coming with friends. We do get that question as well. It's okay if you come with a friend, as long as you come with an open mind that you're there to meet other people and kind of be part of the group as a whole. But really, most students make the decision based on what their interests are, and so they may not have other friends at the time that can travel during the same time or want to do the same program, and so you're kind of all in that same boat, and it's also just easier to make friends then.
Yeah.
On that first travel. McKenna, can you think of, in the last 2 programs that you've done, what is one of the most significant lessons that you've learned?
Significant lessons.
Kind of a harder one.
Yeah.
That stuck with you.
I think probably one of the biggest lessons that stuck with me has to be just about learning about other cultures and embracing other cultures. I had never really traveled, especially internationally, before Rustic. So going to a different country was huge, and it was, I think definitely different cultures. It stuck with me.
Cool. Do you have anything to add to that, Anna?
Yeah, I would totally agree. I think being open to trying new things, just saying yes is something I learned, because as a kid I was really, really shy, and I said no to a lot of things, and I kind of shrunk away from a challenge, and Rustic has really challenged me to be the best person, trying new foods, learning new languages, saying hi to people I don't know.
Awesome. What crazy foods have you tried, especially if you've gone to Thailand?
I have to think. I tried all of the local Thai foods. I didn't try any of the bugs. We weren't offered any of those. I know some people on other programs were. Yeah, I tried. We went to a cooking class one night at a really wonderful Thai woman's house, and she taught us how to cook local Thai cuisine, which was really cool.
What about you, McKenna? Did you try guinea pig?
No, so I'm actually a vegetarian, but yeah, for our last night when we were staying in our homestays, they did this big dinner. Everyone was there, the whole village, and they made guinea pig, and most of the people on my trip tried it.
Yeah, I mean, I know this is so cliche, but in my experience, it really did taste like chicken. For those who do eat meat, it sounds crazy because we don't eat a lot of guinea pig here, but it's supposed to be pretty healthy, and it tastes not that different from meats you'd eat at home. What are you most looking forward to, McKenna, about your upcoming trip in DR?
I think just getting to be in the water a lot. We're going to be looking at a lot of fish populations, so just being able to be on the beach all day, doing something, I'm really excited about. I'm also oddly excited about taxidermying a lionfish.
Well, it sounds like both you and Anna actually have quite a bit in common. You're both doing marine programs.
Yeah, I love marine biology.
Is this something that you guys want to do when you go to college?
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, look at that. Okay, so here's a good question as well for those who have tuned in with us tonight. Thank you again. As we're going through there, again, don't forget that you can use that question and answer section to send questions to our panelists, and we'll provide those to them. But if you are speaking to a first-time traveler and they have, all the questions that you did as a first-time traveler, what would be some of the recommendations that you would give them as far as choosing a program and how to prepare for their first trip? We can start with McKenna.
So in terms of choosing your first program, I say it's definitely based off what you're interested in and kind of your comfort level. For my first program, I wanted to do something with marine life, and I hadn't traveled, so I chose a program that was only a week long, because that felt less daunting than a program that was 2 or 3 weeks long. And then the tips, the packing lists are really helpful. I do use those a lot. Yeah, I'd say. Yeah.
Okay, what about you, Anna?
Yeah, I agree with that. For your first trip, I it depends on the type of person you are, how comfortable you are already, but I was really, really nervous, so I chose somewhere closer to home, and I also, like McKenna, chose a shorter trip. Mine was a week long, um, which was a little bit better just because you get to ease your way into it. And then tips, McKenna talked about this too, but pack light. I'm most certainly an overpacker, but that
Oh,
doesn't
yeah.
handy. So you get used to that, and be open to saying yes to things. And if you're on the edge, just say yes. It'll change your life.
Say yes, I love that. I do want to hear, and you can take a second to answer this. I do want to hear each of your top 3 packing tips besides pack light and besides checking the packing list online, which are both essentials, obviously. What are like some must brings or best packing tips you've got?
I'd say one of the must brings, definitely don't forget your water bottle. You're gonna refill it a lot. You do not want to leave that behind. You like check way more than you feel is necessary for your passport. A girl on one of my last trips actually left hers at home, and it was a whole fiasco. Her mom had to fly to Atlanta to give it to her. And then my third packing tip, I don't know what my third one is.
Okay, you can think about that one.
Yeah.
Passport and water bottle, awesome tips. Anna, what you got?
I did this for the first time this past summer. I put like different categories of clothing in little plastic bags and then like stood on them to get all the air out to try and keep organized. Of course, as soon as I got there, it all like went to a mess. But I think that helped to try and fit stuff and stay at least a little bit organized. Also keep your passport in a plastic bag. Just try and be as organized as possible. And then bring a camera. This isn't for everyone if you have a camera, but I love photography. And there are so many beautiful places that you'll go with Rustic that many people haven't been lucky enough to see. So capturing that with a camera is really magical.
Awesome, thanks, Anna. I think I did freeze up there, so I appreciate you giving all those tips. I did hear all of them though, and those are all really good tips. I'm gonna exit for just a moment before we take our viewers' questions. I'm just going to show you how to enroll and give you some tips about how to navigate the website. On the main website, you can use the sandwich menu, I call it, up in the top right corner, or hamburger menu, some people call it. This is gonna be sort of the master menu. You can search by country over here, if you already know the country that you're interested in. The how it works section is super helpful. I always like to point this out if you haven't already looked at this. The program types link is a really helpful place to start if you haven't chosen your program yet. There you can search, I'll just go ahead and click there. There you can search by program type and by personality. So if you're specifically looking for animal conservation programs or environmental conservation, or you would like to work in education, all of that's there. So that's a really nice place and an easy way to narrow down the options. In that same menu, you can find out information about how to enroll, information about scholarship, the deadline of which is coming up in the end of March, I believe March 20th. And then the flights and travel page. And this is also really helpful, give you all the information about how we arrange travel. If you're an unaccompanied minor, which means usually under the age of 15, if you're coming from international nation outside of the US, how you're gonna get all of that information is there, as well as the airlines, hub airports, and costs of the flights you can find there. Rules and expectations, always really good to go through as a new student as well as returning students. And then the FAQ section has a bunch of information as well. Over here at Inside Rustic, I always like to point out the student impact section if we have any really students or parents that are joining us, and you're wondering what is the true impact of these programs. I mean, we've got two fabulous examples sitting in front of us, the impact that it has made on them, but this also goes into some of the research that Rustic Pathways does. Really fascinating research we've done with a couple doctoral students as part of their PhD research, and it's been going on for a couple of years now, and it will be continuing as we gathered that data. And with students answering surveys before and after they travel, the feedback that they give us about our programs and the impact that it's had on them. And in addition to that, our global community impact, so not only the impact we're having on our students that travel, but also the impact we're having on our global community at large. All of the communities, from the tiniest little villages to the bigger cities that we operate in, to make sure that we are always doing right by them, working alongside them, and they are benefiting and they are part of the process. So that is what you can read there. Those are really two very awesome links to kind of look into and learn more about, as well as health and safety and blog and all that jazz. So a lot of information there. But if you get overwhelmed and you just want to get your one answer, can't seem to find it there, please always give us a call. We have a team of global programs advisors ready and excited to answer any of all of your questions. In the contact page, you can also, if you can't reach us at any given time, you can always go to the contact page and also request a call. So you can schedule for us to have one of us give you a call back at your convenience. So that's also super helpful. And then when you are finally ready to enroll, which we hope you do by March 6th, to kind of get in before the end of that regular season, as I mentioned, click the Enroll Now button in the top right corner. You'll click here to start the application, and it's a pretty straightforward application process. So there's a page for the student information, a page for the family information, your itinerary selection, and so forth, and it goes pretty quickly. So if you have any other questions about how that works, again, just give us a call. And that is how to enroll. And now we have a little bit of time. It looks like we've got a couple minutes to top up the half hour for questions and answers. Let me see if we've got anybody coming in. I'll give everyone a couple minutes. Anna, are there any other like amazing stories or little tips that you have for everybody tuning in?
I don't know. My biggest tip is just if you're able to go on a rustic trip, just do it. It's really scary, but you'll be so happy that you did it. And I think my best memory was I got dive certified down in Thailand, which I had never done before. And it was really amazing. I got to, my best memory was swimming like 5 feet away from a hawksbill sea turtle, like 60 feet underwater, which was just like, I almost started crying in my mask, but I thought that would probably be bad, so I didn't. But it was really, really magical, and turtles are the coolest thing in the entire universe. So that moment stuck with me for a long time.
And I'm sure I approve of that message. Do you have any, like, what was your favorite memory, last one you're going to share? It looks like we don't have any other questions coming in, so last favorite memory.
So my favorite memory was definitely on my trip to Peru. We were staying in homestays, and it was a little bit before dinner, and me and the girl I was rooming with, we decided to go down towards like the center of the village early, and there were a bunch of people from our trip hanging out and a bunch of locals, and one of the girls on the trip knew a decent amount of Spanish, so she started talking with all the local kids, and we actually ended up playing a game of soccer like in the street, which was it was super fun.
Awesome. I mean, that sounds like you were getting a glimpse of kind of real life down there, yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
Love it. Well, we do have one last question. It looks like we've got somebody asking about what the typical boys to girl ratio is on a trip, and maybe you guys can answer. I'll kind of give the company's perspective. Our company typically has, on any given day, on any given year, about a 70-30 or 60-40 girl-boy ratio. So we always have a few more girls than boys. It does depend quite a bit on the session, though. What we have found is that, let's say one program has 8 sessions during the summer. Several of them will have more girls than boys, and then a couple of them will have more boys than girls. They kind of like to jump on the same program as the rest of the boys. And so even if one particular section has a majority, then you may be able to find, if you're looking for a program that has more girls or more boys, just depends on if your date's flexible, you may be able to find that. But on your programs, did you find that there was a good number of boys, even mix, or more girls?
So on my first program, there were not a ton of us. I think there were 13, and there was only one guy. And then on my second one, there were some more of us, and there were 3 guys. And one of my friends on the second trip, she had done soccer in service, something like that, in Costa Rica, and she was the only girl on her trip. Yeah.
Yeah, I had the same experience. On my first trip, there were 3 boys. There were only 8 of us, which was the smallest trip I've ever been on. My second year, there were 2 boys out of 15 of us. And then this year, there were 5 boys out of 18 of us. So there's definitely more girls, but everyone kind of blends together. It doesn't matter what your gender is. One of the friends I was talking about is a boy. He goes to University of Denver.
Awesome. Okay, well, I don't see any other questions, and I know we've gone slightly past the half hour, so I just want to thank our panelists. You guys were awesome. I'm super excited to hear about how your trips go this coming summer. Thank you everybody who's joined us tonight. If you do have any other questions that you think of after this presentation, give us a call tomorrow, and we'll be happy to go through that with you. Have a fantastic weekend, and happy March tomorrow, everyone. Hopefully spring comes soon.